Hit it.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right. Episode 3 of Bishop and Juan, aka are we officializing it?
I think so. I think we should. I
All
think we
right.
should.
So we found the name and we're going to be officially live on the Caspa standard. And those of you who hopped into the spaces early heard Juan say how important it is, and I agree, but it came out of Juan's mouth, and we do speak as a unit here, agree or disagree. Live on the Caspa Standard is who we're going to be and what we're about. It's why we came together. It's why the show exists. And to not go live on Vivor and just have a Twitter Spaces would do a disservice to what we're trying to bring to not just the Caspa community, but to entertainment, to podcast, to sports as a whole and finding life on the Caspa Standard. So why not be live on the Caspa Standard? Brother Juan, how are you, sir?
Absolutely, bro. I love that. Yeah, yeah. And I think, man, I felt the frustration for sure of us trying to get through this because we're 30 minutes in. We've had people come in and out of the spaces. So it'll be recorded. People can go back to listen, or maybe I don't know. You can clip it up so they don't have to hear the silence for as long as it was there in the beginning. Which, yeah, man, this is what it is, right? We're committed to sovereignty, living. Living on sound money is how I see it, and nothing really kills me, bro. So I was absorbing it for you, like sending you that good energy, like, hey, bro, we'll figure this shit out. When we go live, we go live. This isn't about how many people are listening right now. This is about what we're building towards, what we're about, really strengthening that foundation, and absolutely being on Vivor, super important because that supports. When we start a stream on there, how much is it to start a stream?
1.2 cast.
1.2 Caspa right now, right? And that goes to supporting the miners. That goes to protecting the network. So that's absolutely a part of this. So we definitely didn't want to skip having this on Vivor. It's nice to have it on the spaces. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, I see Me on there. We got another listener. Yeah, so we appreciate you guys joining live, and hope you enjoy this conversation. I've enjoyed it the last 2 weeks for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I get like a conversation dump when we do this, right? And a lot of times when I do other shows or podcasts and I don't get a chance to connect with people, like I think about hitting them up the next day. But like I get like 2 or 3 days of like uh, a cleansing or a refreshness of our conversation to go, you know what? We didn't quite talk about this, but man, it still feels good to kind of just connect that way.
Mm.
Like we were talking last night trying to get things together, and I believe Casme stepped in there too when we're trying to like marry the tech together, and we talked about so much other shit, and
Yeah.
like it was just cool to connect, and we didn't talk about anything that we're going to talk about today, and I was thinking to myself last night, I'm like, man, should we save some of that? I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. And that's what's really cool about having this concept of the two of us getting together for X amount of time on Tuesdays at 11:30. Yes, I'm excited about the next one, but I'm not harping on the last one either. And I'm like, I feel refreshed. And then all of a sudden it's like Sunday and we haven't connected again. And I'm like, I'm not even worried if that's a good or a bad thing. I'm like, are we going to be prepared for Tuesday? And it's like, well, yeah, we're always prepared because this is literally, and I appreciate you for this. Like, this is the most present that
Ooh,
I get to be. It
you hit
really
it.
is.
You hit
Yeah.
that right on the nose. That's what it is right there, brother. That everything, like I'm getting goosebumps. My the hairs are standing up on my arms here, bro. That's what this is about. I know that personally, my journey where I am with it, I've said this several times on spaces, but my story isn't mine to keep to myself anymore. And I can see others as a mirror wherever you're at. I can relate, bro. I've been in a place where, hey, shit, I gotta, you've talked about it yourself where you've been unemployed for the past 6 months, and you have such a strong energy. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. Like, people have said this when I've talked about you behind your back, which I do.
Oh, thanks.
I have talked about you behind your back. But when I do talk about you behind your back, I'm like this. I'll say it to your face too. So I'm gonna say it to your face now. You have that energy. We're on the same frequency in so many areas. And I can see it. You brought up mental sovereignty, and that was something I've never heard anybody put it like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's it right there. That's how I've been living. And So for me, it's really about showing up right here, right now, going through the technical difficulties like we did in the beginning. That's a part of this, right? Being authentic, right? We need more of this shit. So much of this shit is scripted, and you can feel it when you're listening on some of these YouTube channels and shit like that. And things are going to change. We might be early to this. We don't have a huge audience right now listening live, but people are gonna get a little taste of this. And it's not for the people that don't want to hear it, right? It's for the people that are here and want to listen back to it. So this is going to be on recording. It's going to be on the internet. We're going to put it out in the ethers, and there'll be more energy like this coming. So it's really about being right here, right now, bro. That's what it's about. And shit, you and I
Sure.
can talk for days. So this is perfect to get it all out. It's good therapy for us for sure.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And there's not many people, and I again appreciate those kind words. And actually, I think I explained it to you last night too. Like, this whole sovereign mindset. I believe Casper Silver was the first one that I heard talk about sovereignty, and I'm like, well, what the fuck is even
Mm,
sovereignty, right? Like everyone has to live in the system, and that's what I always thought. Like you, because even someone like you, who has to, or who is trying their damnedest to be on the Casper standard in real life, right? Like when you put gas in your car, you still have to enter the fiat world, right? You still
right.
have to go to a gas station. You're not going to a Caspa gas station. So, like when you're buying your groceries, there's only so much you can do to truly find sovereignty, right? But I was listening to Casper Silver talk about it because that seemed to be his approach when it came to Caspa. Period, is like, well, this is the most sovereign approach to money that I can be. And I'm like, okay, I've never been a money guy. Like I know I need it, but I've never ran for the money. Every time I went for a raise, I ended up fired, right? Every time I
Mm,
pushed for a high salary, it didn't work out, right? So like it's not about settling, it's about understanding perspective. And so I was like, all right, cool. I can not worry about money, but also have a shit ton of bills. So how do I figure that out? And then if you keep working towards the system, so if your approach is sovereignty, but you keep fighting the system, you're always going to find a hurdle to try to get over. So that's what I found out talking to you, and when we had our conversation that day, like you have this mindset, and the mindset is truly where it starts, and understanding that, like, okay, let me not worry about them. Let me sovereign my mindset to go, okay, if I'm not weighing results given efforts for clarity, or for appreciation, or admiration, then what can I do to make sure I'm okay in the moment, but also tomorrow, because that's the fiat side of it. So like I was like, you know what? Let me stop worrying about what everyone else says or
oof.
what the system says I need to do, and let me take my approach to sovereignty. And I'm on record with probably the most go fuck yourselves of all time. And I'm cool with telling people go fuck yourself. But the problem I've had is I've never taken it to me,
Mm.
right? I say it out, but I never act that way. I never feel that way. I just tell it to create the barrier. But I don't need barriers. I need to operate. Finding that way to give the mental sovereignty is also like finding, or not to say go fuck. It's about just knowing and moving. And I got that from you, man. So you created mental sovereignty. I just may have put the two
Yeah,
words
I
together.
think that you describe it perfectly in terms of yeah, and bringing up Caspa Silver, I think is gold too, because he's such a young dude that gets it. And I got that from him from listening to his first couple YouTube videos. I'm like, okay, and then finding out how young he is, I go, okay, this is somebody who is really understanding the message. And then finding out his story makes it easy to relate to people. And for me, I really make it a conscious decision to have my energy flow towards people that just make sense. I don't give a shit how old you are, how much experience you have. It's hey, right here, right now. Does this energy flow with where I'm at? And yeah, I mean, you put the words to it, but it's literally how I've vibed and lived over the past 20 years. And I've definitely benefited being in I would consider it. I've been in like my little cocoon in my own little world with it over the past 6 7 years. I mean, I got off all socials, and things got better, trust me, right? Because you kind of just deal with You
Yeah.
deal with what's going on in your world, and then things get better, but you also get challenged in a bunch of different ways. So even getting back on the socials, I noticed, oh shit, I have, like for example, the first year that I was on X, had a faceless profile, and if somebody followed me, I made them unfollow me. I didn't want anybody I didn't want to connect to anybody. That wasn't the point. I'm strictly here to learn and read from people that I want to learn from. And obviously, with the Bitcoin Kaspa debates, me holding Bitcoin and Kaspa, and it being about sound money, me going into this, my approach to this to this to this ecosystem, to what this is this is about understanding money on a deep level. So that goes back to like why Kaspa Silver makes a lot of sense to us, because he's one of the proponents that says, hey, if you guys don't use, this is a proof of work system. If you don't use the Caspa, you don't really understand what this is about. So it's really about, but you're right. There are no Caspa gas stations. You can't use
Right.
Caspa everywhere. So you gotta understanding the foundational principles of what this sound money system can do for you long term. I've seen the results. I saw the results in my own family. I've shared what it's done for my father, who served 20 years in the military on a pension, Social Security, and he gets a paycheck every single month. But every single month, it'd be like, oh, he's waiting till the end of the month to get the next paycheck, because he really, again, he doesn't have the same. My dad just turned 69 last week, November the 8th. Happy birthday to the old man.
Shouts.
But and trust me, he's a drill sergeant, by the way. This dude was super mean growing up. A lot of people would be like, how can you forgive him for some of this shit? But
Right.
understanding that he didn't have the same opportunities as me, and this goes back to my mental sovereignty. It's like, I do not put anything on anyone else. I really try to see people for where they're at, where they are, and that gives me peace in all the chaos, right? And it's, if I hold on to the shit that from way back then, how am I supposed to live right now in the present? I'm carrying that shit with me. That has nothing to do with this moment, this right here, right now. And in being in that energy, and I've been in this energy for a long time, I've seen that man when he moved his money to the sound system, and that's Bitcoin and Kaspa. The way now, he doesn't spend more than he has come in. He really doesn't know that, but I just see him naturally flowing in this, right? So he has you're right. We can't pay for everything in cash flow, so we have to convert it into the fiat. But for me, it's like, as quickly as I can do that is what I'm going to do. So let me convert it, pay for the gas, pay for the bills, and then I want it to go back. You know, and
Right. Right.
I'm not one of those proponents that thinks everybody should go straight 100% into it. That actually isn't the healthy way to do this, right? For me, it's, I can take the 50% drawdowns. It doesn't change my life. I can take the 60%. It's been down 70%, right? I can take that. And for me, it like ingrains what this is about even more. It's like, okay, what should you be doing right now? How should you be vibing in the world? Maybe I should eat in a little bit more. Let me stick around my people a little bit more. I don't need to be going out there and spending money like that, because I know it's going to come right back up. I've seen this shit play out with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's the soundest
Right.
the soundest protocol that's been out there, right? That's why it's number one. So yeah, brother, it was super cool that you put the words at the mental sovereignty, but it's literally how I've been fortunate enough to vibe in the world. And I'm just, it's just fitting that we're into sports the way we are, and Caspa kind of is the foundation for us to build on this. And um, I'm somebody who's never chased money either. I've never really chased it. It hasn't been about that. I was having a conversation with a buddy earlier today, somebody that I'm in a pretty big real estate, commercial real estate investment deal. And I was just talking about, because we're waiting for the interest rates to drop, and I'll be able to pull money and refinance out of there, and I'll be fine. Not a lot of people can put in the money for that shit. And this is for the first time in
Right.
human history. Bitcoin and Casper are permissionless, borderless, and anybody can put their money into this, right? And you're going to experience what people with money get to experience. Um, and that volatility is somewhat of an illusion, but you get to experience this shit if you're willing to hold on to it and let it ride out. Because Caspa literally is measuring the free market on a daily basis, 24/7, and that's what people don't get. So if you just look at the markets and what's happening right now, like everything's down, Bitcoin's way down, everything's down. That's a signal. And the signal is, oh, we're running out of fucking money. The Ponzi scheme debt based system is running out of money. You know, they got to start printing and injecting some liquidity, or else shit, everything's gonna fall to zero. They're not gonna let that happen. The way they don't let that happen, they print the shit out of money, bro. So
Yeah, no, it's coming, and I'm on the smaller invested side just because I got into Caspa a little bit later, and I went heavier after I lost my paychecks. So it's not like I moved funds, so I'm not whatever goes down is funds that were already going to go down regardless of what they were in, right? But what I'm actually I had this feeling this morning because Caspa is inching lower and lower, and I know we're not price people, but from a market standpoint is what I was kind of looking at because I've invested in stocks that were healthy, and I watched them go down, and they went down because of bad business and the wrong CEOs and all this stuff, and I never had the resiliency to stick in it and see what happened because I didn't have enough due diligence into it. Now, all the things that we're doing in these Caspa conversations, all the blockchain banters, even us to an extent. But again, Casper Silver's videos and Casper Onion's posts, and all the work that people in the Casper community are doing, they're all showing this proof of work. Not just the mining proof of work, but the actual proof of work of technology. And I'm seeing the business of Caspa, quote business because it's not a business, but the business of what Caspa is capable of doing, and I'm watching that grow, and I'm watching the charts go down, and my curiosity is it just going to take economic stability for number 2 go up? Like the lack of fear in the economics around the entire world for number 2 go up, because we're in a tough spot, at least in America, when it comes to economic system. There's not much, there's a lot of fragility in it, right? The price of eggs are going down, the price of gas is unstable, and the job market is trash, right? So like there's and interest rates on houses are still up super high. So there's this instability in the American economy. Like you said, they can pump money in, they can create the ability for people to use money and stimulate the economy. Um, is that what it's going to take for, in essence, just pure proof of work tokens? Because we're not talking about meme coins. We're not talking about even Ethereum and Solana, even though they're dumping like crazy. These proof of work systems, is that what it's truly going to take for it to go up? Because that value from what the hell is it called? The stock, the stock holding value of it, right? Because the we're at what, 97% or 93% stock to flow
right,
ratio, right? So
okay,
that's going to come to a point where Bitcoin and Casper are so far out of in front of everyone. If that stock to flow, but there's no money behind it, then zero is inevitable for both, right? And is the only way to get the money behind it is to stimulate the economy through pure growth? Is very, very interesting because it's not traditional when you talk about, as I said before, like you buy Apple stock, you're not buying iPhones with Apple stock. You're buying Apple stock because iPhones
right,
are good. So it's just
yeah, yeah,
interesting. It's
and
just
you
interesting to
bring up
see why it's happening
yeah,
this way.
and that's, I'm sorry if I cut you off there.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
So
You're good.
just the way, okay, so here's where we, I think we differ in how we look at Caspa, and I'm open to being wrong about this, by the way, but I do not see Caspa as an investment. So that's the first. Those are the first set of eyes that it took me a while to get to not seeing as an investment. And here's what I mean by that, right? So in this space in crypto, the reason that there's probably 99.9% of trash is because when initially Bitcoin came out and what it was intended for. So think about what Bitcoin was intended for, and you and I already have discussed this. We know this. It doesn't do what it was intended for. So it was intended to be to not be here to make money. It came here to replace money. And Gonzo quoted that, so I got to give him credit for I saw him write that. I go, that's exactly what it was supposed to be, right? So we already know that that's not what. So Bitcoin is not a medium of exchange, and there's the debates out there. We hear them all the time about, oh, the posts or Square, for example, adopting. They say it's Bitcoin, but they're not using Bitcoin. They're using the second layer. So essentially, it's like right now in the economy we have the dollar. That's the layer two to nothing, to literally nothing. There's nothing that backs the dollar. It's just the government saying, hey, this is what, that's essentially what fiat means. It's, hey, that we're telling you that this has worth, and this is what, and that's what allows the US to be able to print on end whenever, not whenever they want. They got to kind of convince the system that, hey, we need to print more dollars. And that's what's happening right now. So, you talked about like, is it going to take some stability? I mean, I just think when you try to, money is money can't be, when you reference it as just looking at it for what it is in terms of it just being natural, a natural measure of the free market without it being necessarily in a control system, then the whole concept of, oh, let's stimulate the economy, let's print more money, let's do all this and that, that doesn't make sense because it's artificial stimulation.
Right.
And that's what's gotten us to where we are, right? So if you wanted like some of the measures of the economy, right, like GDP, we're at I believe we're at like 120, 130% to GDP. So just naturally looking at it for what the economy is doing, we're consuming more than we produce. That's what's causing all the problems, right? And now the interest payments on that debt is at an exorbitant amount, and that's essentially what's going to happen with the markets. We're going to see these the fear happening naturally because we don't have enough energy to cover what we're doing, right? So that
Right.
that and then so this is where Bitcoin and Kaspa completely flip it. So the proof of work system that is that is decentralized, secure, and bounded by energy. We've never had an economic tool measure the markets 24/7. So Bitcoin was the first. And that's really what it does. So when people come and say, "Oh, what's backing Bitcoin?" and I've heard you say that too, it
Yeah,
it
for sure.
definitely makes sense when you're looking at it from what we've grown up with. Like, okay, gold, at least I can touch it and feel it. But if you look at gold and what it represents, right? Well, gold represents a store of energy, right? That holds energy over
Right.
over time. So, and the nations, the countries that have the gold are the ones that have the power, right? So Bitcoin essentially flipped that and was able to bring that to us, in the form of digital scarcity, right? And then I think the genius part of it too was when they got to consensus on capping the supply of it, right? So I think that's like the nail in the coffin. Let's cap the supply, and because and that essentially sets there's not going to be inflation forever, right? There's a set issuance every 4 years. The the amount of Bitcoin that the miners can mine is set to a certain amount. The reward on that is set to a certain amount. Um, so that right there, it's hard to wrap your head around all that. If you don't understand Bitcoin or Caspa, maybe a little too much. It may sound like I'm throwing out a word salad here, but to basically, to bring it back to just a normal way to look at it, it's like Bitcoin actually does not, it doesn't exert more energy than what it puts out, and that's the reason it can measure the economy. And it's the exact opposite of the system that we're all born into, which is a debt-based system. So in the debt-based system, in order to, for example, like finance a business, you borrow from the future, and you have this debt, right? And then you have to
Right.
then you're essentially mortgaging your future to be able to work for it today. And then that's what has us like grind and hustle and have to work that way. What I realized for myself is I personally didn't start using credit. I used credit to build a business, but I knew exactly what I was doing, and I also made sure that I had enough. I had just as much in capital as I would ask for in a loan. I just put it in the loan, and then that had me operate in a completely different way. So that concept is very foreign to us and to people, but that's what Bitcoin does. So to say, is it about it, we're not, human nature isn't stable. Like we're all over the place. We're never going to be You
Yeah.
can't predict human behavior, but you can kind of see trends in it. And we've just been ingrained in this consumerism and spending more than what we have. And that's going to continue to play out, man. That is not going to, so I think the volatility to a certain extent, maybe we've seen a little bit of it trying to be tamed a little bit by these treasury companies holding Bitcoin, and like now they're in the game, and like we're seeing what's happening with, I remember hearing, I think Saylor said it's not going to drop below 100,000. Well, it fucking did, right? So it's like, okay,
It
how much
dropped below
control
90.
does man really have over what what the world of 8 billion people are going to do? More and more people are finding out about
Right.
this, right? And that's why it doesn't make sense to me to think like there's never been one world currency, but that whole narrative of like everything's going to trend to zero versus Bitcoin. It's like everything is fucking at zero to begin with, and you guys are
Right.
full of yourselves, and idealistic if you think. I mean, there isn't one. I mean, I'm mixed, bro. We're not one race. We're not one of anything. you
Right.
know just like get the
Right.
fuck out of here with that bullshit,
Right.
right? So the more and more I dove in,
Right.
it's just like, no, people just need to be educated that, hey, you don't need to have money anymore there was a saying that I heard a lot growing up, that you got to have money to make money. You're definitely fucking right in that debt-based system. That's the truth. in
True. Right.
this sound money system, it literally is about the mental sovereignty, about operating in a completely different energy. And in this system, the sound money system, where you're not being extracted from, there's a set issuance, a set amount that's ever going to come out. We know in this system, if you save in it and you can bear the true measure of the free market, it's going to go up and to the right in terms of nominal terms, right? But it's really, really difficult to wrap your head around it because we've never had anything like this, bro. We've never had anything like
Right.
this. So to say, hey, is the volatility gonna fucking take? Probably not. But you want that. You want that if you want
Right.
to get out of
Right.
all that we've ever had. Like in that debt-based system, it's pretty fucking
Right.
hard, bro. Like I had to play a game that I would not recommend to most people. Like it fucked me. It fucked up my body. It fucked me up mentally. But like I stayed in it, and eventually I came out of it because hey, I got some. I went into some plant medicine and like faced my. I'm like, okay, shit. And and what really fucking matters. And once I stopped giving a shit about all the other stuff on the outside of me, it was like I went within and found that strength within. And everything that I'm talking about, everything that I say, these are real life experiences. I don't talk about somebody else's life and I'm like, oh, I read this book. I haven't even read that many fucking books, bro. Like I
Yeah.
talk about my life and what I've done and how I've done it, and that's the way I operate, right? So that's what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
And again, I look at things as a reflection of me, and I know I went on a little tangent there, but yeah, I hope some of that made sense.
No, it did. No, all of it made sense because you laid out a good point, and I what I took away from it in the moment was, if X doesn't have value and Y doesn't have value, there is no Z out
Mm.
there that has value, right? Like if everything trends to zero against Bitcoin and Bitcoin's trending to zero, guess what? We're all at zero. Like
There you go.
it's not, and if we're all at zero, then we're all at a million. So the idea that liquidity means, liquidity and value means that you have more than, it's you actually don't, because again, like you said, if Sailor says it's not going below 100 and then it goes below 90, and then maybe it goes below 80, maybe it just fucking goes and nobody cares because it is a token that you need to utilize for the ability to have sovereignty and, for simpler words, independence from what that looks like on the outside. And that's what you're speaking of. There's an internal proof of work that happens inside every single miner that helps create what it is that we're looking at. And when these things happen, you have the ability to, like you said, weigh it against the economy, weigh it against the world, and how it's all operating together. So if what you just said without saying was one Bitcoin equals one
Mm.
Bitcoin, one Kaspa
That's
equals
it.
one Kaspa, because when you look on the outside of that, well, one US dollar, let's just use eggs for an example. 12 eggs used to be $5 US. Now 12 eggs is $2 US. So that's not one Kaspa equals one Kaspa, right? There's a lack of equality when it comes to fiats that is not within, right? And the reason why that happens is, like you said, that we're purchasing more than we're making. Like, we're not giving ourselves that opportunity for a cyclical economy, and that's why I didn't see it. You saw it. Going live on Vivor while doing this is what's going to help these proof of
Yes.
works. And that was also my point when I said, well, what is Bitcoin backed off of? Because yes, you're right, it is proof of work, right? And we did this when we talked. I brought you up a couple tweets when I shared my screen with you about the value of Bitcoin, the value of Kaspa, and what it looks like compared to each other. You plug in the miners, right? The miners now create the chains. We have a block DAG on Kaspa that's 6,000 times faster than Bitcoin. We have 2.87 billion to 27 million, right? So we're 13667 or 16773, whatever the X up is. But Kaspa itself, as just in proof of work, is literally 4 times more valuable than Bitcoin per token, per speed, per transaction, right? And that's at the 10, not even at the 100 that's coming up
Yeah.
soon. So having this type of proof of work should add value above, right? And again, one Kaspa will equal one Kaspa, but it should also be equivalent to what the other technology is. So if that's just in the proof of work, right? Now, Kasmi's in the spaces, right? Can Kasmi build anything he's building now on the Bitcoin blockchain? Right? So now when you have the proof of work and then your proof that you can work on the proof of work, that's extended
Yep.
value.
There you
That
go.
that should add to this global, quote company that Caspa is. The value, because again, if we're looking at charts, if we're looking at stock to flows, if we're looking at value in the piece that you own, that should be factored in as well. And right now, you're right, we're early. That's not factored in. There's no Kai Cenat or ISO speed on Vivor, right? If there was, then the value of Vivor goes up, right? Which in turn would raise the value of Casper, because the proof of work on top of the proof of work has to, in my opinion, in my heart, I'm saying this from my soul, it has to add value to the token. Again, that's not what we're here for. I'm just speaking my logic when it comes to how this works. Yes, you plug it in, the hash rate goes up, all the other technical bullshit happens. I agree. That adds value to what you're creating. So do transactions,
Mhm.
right? You transact one Bitcoin, you got to pay a half a Bitcoin to have it happen. You transact one Caspa, you have to pay one millionth of a token to have that happen, and that's part of the work. But we're also building and using, and
Yes.
that's something that has to in the end add value to what we're holding.
Yeah.
And that in my opinion, because I agree with you, right? Like, it's not about number go up. But if we are going to spend 2 hours on Vivor, on the Caspa chain, then we added proof that it works. So in turn, there should be a reward for proof that it works. Even if it doesn't come to us directly, but it adds value to the overall market cap, well, it should, right? Because we're using what is being
Right.
created. We are proving that it works. And that's just perspective I have, and why I'm happy to be a part of the Vivor ecosystem, the Casper ecosystem, if you will, because the Casper community, they're the ones that created Vivor, and they've put up so many beautiful projects. Um, I actually purchased one of their NFTs. I have to add it to my Vivor so I can get their premium for 6 months. But yeah, man, it's very interesting concept when it comes to crypto, because you can buy Nike because you believe in it, and you can see all the Jordans get sold, and every time Jordans get sold, the number of Nike goes up. Well, every time we use Vivor, the number should go up because we are proving that it works.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of its value, and again, this is where I believe there's cognitive dissonance, because most people are measuring the value of Caspa, and again, Bitcoin, I think, just stopped. Not, I think, we know Bitcoin just stopped innovating. And I think that the turning point for Bitcoin was in 2017 during the block size wars. So there were companies that were trying to adopt Bitcoin for payments. on the base layer, I believe, on the base layer, because that's to speak to what you're talking about. When we use these proof of work protocols on the base layer, which is what we're doing here with Vivor, this goes, the 1.5 Caspa goes directly to the miners, and now we're attempting to provide value. And if we do provide value and enough people enjoy this, they'll reciprocate that, right, within the system, and that'll naturally, in nominal terms, reflect. And here's the thing about, so I just want to chime back into what you mentioned with the other system, right? What another thing that takes, I think, a couple layers and some digging is to find out. So there's a site called the I think it's the debt clock or something like that. It shows the U.S.
Oh
debt. It
yeah,
shows that we're
yeah.
at
The U.S.
30, and it's
national
just like
debt. Yeah,
constantly going, right?
that calculator.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it looks
So bad.
confusing, but again, just to have that, try to make it make sense here. What that is doing is it's literally showing you that we do not know how to get some rest and rest up in order to have energy to come out and produce things. Like, we are this consumer driven economy who does not know how to layer back. And going back to the financial crisis, right, and why that happened, and really understanding that. But dude, when I dug into that shit and really understood, oh my god, like, no business survives what the banks did, right? In a free market, businesses that spend more than they produce, right? They're fucking like going out of business, and that's not what happened. We bailed out all the bad actors. We bailed out everybody, and what we did is we
Right.
just printed and we took from the savers, and those are the people that ended up suffering, right? So it's only gotten worse since then. It's not like things have gotten better. So COVID came around. We printed, in the past 5 years, we printed 80% of what's in circulation, and we're even more in ass backwards now, bro. So
Yeah.
what I really understood and what I really know at the core of my fucking being, the math isn't adding up, bro. We are insolvent. They're not going to cut Medicare, Medicaid, military spending. They're not going to cut all that shit. And I want to say 80% of what we owe is that. They're not cutting any of that shit. So what do they have to do? Print more. They're not going to let this shit just fall apart. And when they do that, it injects all this liquidity into the market, and it flows into hard assets. It flows into gold, silver. Now that people are understanding Bitcoin, it'll flow into Bitcoin, and people are understanding Caspa, right? It's going to flow into Caspa. So yeah, I think that takes care of itself just naturally in the system. So to say, to speak on what, I think I lost you there, Bishop.
I
Did
It looks like the camera went out,
Okay, you
but
can still hear me? Okay.
we're still on. Yeah, I can still hear you on
Okay, cool.
Spaces. It might be the stream itself, but
Yeah,
go ahead,
yeah.
keep
So,
going
so,
because we're
so, so
recording
yeah,
on
that just
Spaces.
that just
Yeah.
speaks to what you're talking about with so us getting on here, being, again, we're super early to this. People are still essentially in what I refer to as the rat race. You're chasing your tail. You're trying to get ahead, but there's no unless you fucking do something completely outside of the box, which is what I had to do to get out of that. I towed the line. I didn't ask for permission on how to build my business. I fucking went against everything that I was told I should do, and that's how I built it up. So it's really fucking tough out there, bro. It's really, really tough, and it's beautiful to have an economy like Caspa and what it's building, and it being so young, just turned 4 years old, and building services like this, like Vivor, and it completely flipping how it is you essentially can bring value to the world. And I'm a huge believer on this. When you bring value, money shows up in droves. I've experienced it. Like, I've lived that, right? I've lived that life. So I just, at the core of my being, if fucking Bitcoin dipped to 50 grand, it's not going to change anything. If Caspa went to 1 cent, to me, it's not going to change anything, because fundamentally, I know what it is, and I know that it's only a matter of time before that in nominal terms is going to go up. But like you said, at the end of the day, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, one Caspa is one Caspa, and this is, we're flipping it on what people see or understand in terms of uh, what it is to live sovereignly and on sound money.
For sure, and it's getting closer and closer, and I think if if the number go down right now could level out to a point, maybe people can be scared enough to realize that it's not the crypto that's tanking, it is the world economy. And I don't want to say that as like a doomsday thing, but it is the world economy as a whole. Like you said, that's what these cryptos are based off of their success. So that could wake people up to say, hey, like the sovereignty that exists within crypto, if you, because it's going to take the
Yeah.
people, because the last thing you want is the companies to get a hold of that, right? Because then there'll be another layer of percentage fees you have to pay for. So again, if you're doing Bitcoin with Nike, they're going to charge you 4% the same way they do with Visa, right? Like it's just going to be that way. And you don't want that. You want to find these sovereign ways to get yourself to that point so you don't have to experience that and your one can equal the one. And that's, I mean, that's where I think we completely agree. And hopefully, like I said, that this particular dip in what holdings look like, people realize it's on a global scale, and the way to secure your wealth would be through cryptocurrencies, specifically proof of works, in our opinion, in a Caspa where you have the most utility and the most potential.
Right. And then to have a long-term perspective in it, right? So again, we're not financial advisors, no financial advice here,
Correct.
but you have to, so that is one of the benefits of when you do, let's say when you do make enough fiat. I've been fortunate to have it come in droves, and I share that not to, because I don't like putting it out there like, oh, I've done this and to show off, right? I think people that have gotten to know me understand that about me. But to kind of put it into perspective and have people understand, when you do have enough and it's way more than you need, you can start to look outside of yourself and see things for what they are. And I think that's the opportunity that I had once I was able, I have it pinned to my profile where I share that, I'd been, oh, when am I going to become a millionaire, right? That was essentially, that was a goal in there. I kind of did not necessarily have that as a top priority, but eventually it happened, and it happened almost, or it did, it happened very organically, but I had to build all these layers and these systems. And I didn't do it traditionally. It's, a lot of people maybe put in investments and kill themselves working 100 hours a week. Like I wasn't working that much. I had everybody else working for me. I was traveling the world, and I'm in Spain actually when I realized it, on a cruise, and I'm like, oh shit. And I had over seven figures in my business checking account, right? So now when I think about that, I'm like, I can't believe that that's where I had that money. And like, had I known what I know now, what I learned over the past 2 years, um, where I would have been moving my time to. But I think things happen the way they're supposed to happen to put you right where you're supposed to be. Um, but yeah, man, we're discovering a lot here, and it's going to take conversations about all this, and even if it doesn't completely make sense, it's like, okay, what do you feel when you're hearing us talk about this? How's it resonating with you? What does it feel compared to like some of the shit that you see when you're listening to shit on YouTube or the news, right? It's all like doomsday bullshit to get you to fucking continue to slave away. And there's an alternative. There's an opt out to that, right? And you don't have to go fully into this, but literally, it's like people are shouting at each other in this cage, right? There's, oh, the left and the right. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. Vote for this person. Do this. And the cage is fucking wide open. Like it's wide open. You can just walk out.
Right.
Like there's another option. It's right there. You don't have to fucking keep doing that. You can go over here, right? But it's hard to do that when you're used to the shouting and I gotta fight, I gotta grind, I gotta do all this shit. I didn't grind to get to where I'm at, bro. I fucking worked out. I took care of myself. I ate well. I lost 90 pounds in the process. Traveled the world, had a great fucking time. Like there's another way to do this. So yeah, man, that's what's available to people, and um, you know, it's gonna take
No, it's
conversations like this to have people wake up to that.
for sure, for sure. And as we've talked about in the past, I think the idea of what you're speaking on in terms of what this show communicates in, that's the video
Mm,
game that I've related to it, right? So that mental sovereignty, that operational sovereignty, where you see yourself, making these choices not because they say so, but because it feels right from internal. That video game is something that I've attributed to you being on level 10. Now, um, I don't. I know. Well, I know for a fact that you don't see that you'll ever win the game because it's not a game to
It
win,
is there, yeah.
and and living in the present isn't about seeing what the last level is. So I'm not going to put it that way. I'll always say what level I think you're on. And I see you as a level 10, and I feel like I've pushed myself up to a level 2 with the awareness that I have. And when I find some success, I know I'll be able to level up, but I won't level up because of success. I'll level up how I feel around the success, whether I know it's kept me, solid, or it's made me uplifted. Do I now have validation because I have success, or am I now understanding that the validation was for the success anyway, right? And I'm looking forward to get there because I still have my own journey to go on, but I do think that this video game, that when you put it in terms of that way, like, you can see it then becomes aspirational, right? Like, no one wants to be deified, and you shouldn't be deifying personalities anyway, right? You can't look at Gary V or Trump or whoever the fuck you want to and go, they're the greatest person of all time, I want to be like them. No, you should see the qualities that some people have, and use that as aspiration to navigate yourself to those moments. And I think that's where I'm at. And on that video game of life, if you guys listening can find yourself on a level, and learn to navigate that level through a mental sovereignty, with the approach of breaking away from the preconceived notion of how you're supposed to live life, like, things do get so much fucking
Ooh,
easier, so much easier. It's all weight that we've had put on our shoulders, but also we kept it on our shoulders because we thought that's what we were
yeah.
supposed to do.
And bro, and like, just to bring it into with what you're saying, because and I've said this to you before, but just a reminder, right? When you talk about, oh, I gotta get there, and when I get there, like, bro, it's all like you're talking about it, right? And we've been so conditioned to be like, okay, work towards something at some point when I achieve this. Well, how about you fucking feel that right now? What would it be like to feel that shit right now? Because that's literally how I do
Yep.
it, bro. It's like, that's the
Yeah.
so the video game is available to you in this moment. And okay, if you want to measure your success based off of what's in your fucking bank account, good luck with doing that. Because
Yeah.
trust me, like I just shared, I've had $1 million in a bank account, and I have a lot less than that now. I actually don't have that much money in a bank account anymore. I have it in Kaspa, right? And this feels way better. I was on that shit in
Yeah.
the fiat land, still operating, trying to gamify things. So that also is an illusion in itself. So I do think that we can celebrate, like when we get together and talk, bro. This is no different than I threw a game-winning pass on a 4th and 12 homecoming game, down 7-3, 2 seconds left, and that was a moment. That was a moment I got to turn to the crowd.
Hell
Shit, the
yeah.
people don't get to live that. I was 17 years old. I remember that shit. I relived it doing some plant medicine, but like really relived it. And it really hit me that, fuck, this is what life's about. Like these moments, that celebration. So it's like, yeah, I can work towards that, but I'm accessing it. Like I'm feeling that shit right now. Like I just threw that game winning pass, right? So it's like it's right here, but
Right.
people are conditioned to be like, oh, no, 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 hold on, I can't. I mean, I also cold plunge. That doesn't fucking feel great in the moment, but I sit there and do my little
Mm.
rap. I have this 3 minute, 3.5 minute rap that I've memorized, that I'll just say in the moment and just like fucking get my energy right here, right now. So that's what I've learned, being able to gamify life. It's like these moments are available whenever
Right.
the fuck you want them. It's just you've been told for such a long time that, oh, when you get here is when you're gonna feel it. And I need to work on that. Okay, fuck. So we all always need to work on shit, bro, all the time. That doesn't mean you can't celebrate the wins when you're going along and feel it right here, right now. So I think you call in that energy, and you call in those moments and those opportunities. You start listening to things differently. You start feeling things differently, and before you know it, it's like boom. Okay, you'll have 1 million in the bank. Now what? Well, you probably want to sell most of that for Caspa. Um,
Right.
turn the dollars into
Right.
sound money, right? So It's all here, and I know that these are new conversations, they're new perspectives and new ways to look at things. And I'm grateful for the Bitcoiners, because some of the Bitcoiners that I've studied over the past couple of years, like, I really enjoy. I think I've talked to you about a handful of them, but there's a handful of them that I still listen to, because I'm like, okay, these guys are onto something. And they're very early Bitcoiners, but I disagree with them on some aspects, right? And that's cool, that's fine, that's what moves us forward. Um,
Well, I think just on the Bitcoin part of it, like, well, okay, if we're gonna say one Casper is one Casper, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, then if we're not gonna weigh the tokens against each other or the tech against each other, then we can't weigh the conversations against each other
mm,
either. Because at the end of the day, I think we both agree, um, Bitcoin's not wrong.
yeah, it's not
Bitcoin
about that.
needs to exist, and it needs to exist, and it needs to be successful. It's not wrong. Bitcoin's not wrong. There, some of the conversations
Yeah.
are. Some of the styles in which information are brought across absolutely are, but Bitcoin's not wrong. It needs to succeed, and I think that's one of the biggest things about the Casper community that I loved over the last couple months has been it's not about anything but truth and speak truth. And Bitcoin does try to fluff it up a lot, but there's been some awakenings within in
Yeah.
Bitcoin, and I do like the fact that some of these guys who were so staunch in their beliefs that they kind of they're not backtracking, but they're opening their eyes a little bit wider because again, Bitcoin's not changing. The success and the operation around it is, and instead of trying to steer the narrative, they're moving a little bit more towards truth, and that's a
That
great
is,
thing.
man.
So you know, yeah, man, I think we're in a good spot. Like I said just a little bit ago, I think about people kind of waking up to sound money, to financial sovereignty, will be able to see more. Because again, I'll again, yes, we're not financial advisors, and I'll be the first one to say, I talk reality into crypto because I don't know much about crypto as is, but I do understand how it can help change
Mm,
reality. So when I compare it to Google or whatever, and I compare it to like, I used to tell my wife, yeah, I just got off of Spaces, and we're talking about this crypto that I know nothing about, but I said a thing, and they go, "Man, that's a great point." It's like, yeah, because I'm thinking about how real people do
mm.
things, and it's not because I want to live in a crypto fantasy land, but it's because I want crypto to work in reality, and there is truth of that. We cannot strip away government and go back to barter society. It literally can't
Yeah.
happen, right? Like it's impossible. It will never happen. So you can't say that, oh well, we're gonna go live on Kaspa Island and just do that. Okay, how are we getting goods?
Right.
How are we, you know what I
You're,
mean? Like, are we gonna build the first Caspa t-shirt factory so everyone has clothes on Caspa Island? Like, no, you at least need so like it has to be. I get it. I'm not dampening the idea that it can be euphoria at some point, but all crypto does have to work in
yeah.
reality. What I love about the Caspa community is they do not have a conversation without talking sovereignty. So the ability to own and hold and be able to operate is way more important than can I buy my coffee with it. And I that's what I love about the Caspa community and why I've stuck with them so long.
Yeah, brother. I mean, you hit a bunch of solid points there. It's like, yeah, especially in these proof of work systems that like what is what Bitcoin is, right? This stuff needs to be used. It needs to be used. You can't hoard it away. And we're seeing it's happening in real time, right? A lot of them were like, it'll never dip below 100 grand. I'm like, it's not about it dipping or going up or anything like that. You guys need to stop talking about that shit. That's one of the things that, like you said, the Casper community is like, oh yeah, but do you understand that the mining rewards are going to have again in another, what, 2 years in 2028? You guys keep talking about it's going to a million. Well, it hasn't, right? It's just like, how about we start talking about how this can be used? And then people like Jack, I'll give Jack Dorsey credit, right? And I like him, and another one's Jeff Booth, that they've said if Bitcoin does not become a medium of exchange, it fails. I'm like, okay, that resonated for me when they said that the first time I heard them say that. And back then, I didn't really understand Caspa the way I do today. And everything that they talk about just confirms Caspa's base layer and what Caspa can do right here, right now, right? So Had Bitcoin figured that out and not ossified and not fucking been stingy and stayed small on the base layer, Caspa's not here, bro. There's no reason for it, right? The market solved for it. But this is the free market working out the way the free market works out. Entrepreneurs attack problems. They come to solve things. You know, we've had this coin happen to launch when it did, 10 years of research before it launched. And it wasn't like an overnight thing, right? It happened because the free market asked for it. That's really how I see it. Um, and it's definitely challenging people who have these hardcore attachments of how they think things should be. And I think that's one of the things that I resonate with you, bro. One of the things that has us vibe. It's like, bro, I don't give a shit what you think it should be or how it could be or what. Like, what does it do right now? Like, what is
Yep.
it like today? Like you said, there's these utopian talks, or it's gonna take over everything. I'm like, nothing's ever taken over everything. Like, that's fucking so much drama.
Right.
Like, there's so much
Right.
drama and bullshit behind all that talk. Like, what is it doing right now? How can I use it right now? You know, and one of the most beautiful examples is for me personally. Everybody in my family has a Casper wallet. Every single fucking person in my family, my mom, everybody, all of my friends that are close to me, that I talk to on a regular basis, they all have Casper wallets. A few of them have really gone in on Casper. They don't talk about Casper every single day like I do, right? Or they're not on X. You know, so they're not going to see the bullshit that happened with the drama with the X account. But like and then I've already shared. My barber takes it as a tip, and he'll take here in Miami. If anybody's the spot barber shop down in Coral Gables, go see Dadiel. Give him a little shout out. Like he takes Caspa, my masseuse. She's one of the traveling masseuse. Beautiful person, beautiful soul, and amazing masseuse. She takes Caspa, right? Those are two services that I got going, right? And I'm committed to just having organic, natural conversations to let people know what this is, right? And I get where you have to meet people where they're at too, right? This isn't like you
Yep.
said, trying to talk to people about, oh, you should say the way save the way in Caspa the way that I have. You're gonna lose people. You're gonna fucking lose people, and that is one of the huge mistakes that I see that this crypto industry has had. You know, it's been a bunch of nerds and devs, cypherpunks being like, okay, the government, fuck what people think. You know what the Bitcoiners say, have fun staying poor, all that bullshit. I'm like, okay, you expect adoption with that type of attitude? You think people are the normies are going to come over and want to use this shit and understand it? It's complicated as it is. You know, it really takes a humbling to understand what this can do and what it's capable of doing. But it won't do it if we don't start spreading it around to the people that we care about. Right? That's how it happens. Not everybody needs to understand it at a deep level like some of us do. Not everybody needs it, but can they use it? Is it
Right.
going to be easy to use in my life? And then they'll feel the effects, you know. And I look at like my dad, my brother, my mom. I look at all them. They don't understand Caspa, but they're living on the sound money standard. I manage the family's assets, you know. So yeah, man, we're so fucking early to this, so ridiculously early. So these drawdowns in the price, they're just opportunities. Like Bitcoin went from 20,000 to 3,000, right, and then back up to
Right.
60, and then right back down to 22. I don't think
Right.
any of that's ever gonna stop as long as humans are alive and new people are being born. We're gonna continue these cycles. Like that's the way I see it. So when you hear the
And it
yeah,
should.
absolutely. You hear the
Yeah.
like one of the beautiful terms that I heard was um, one of these guys that breaks stuff down. He's like the bull tards is what he called them, and it's these hey, it's going to the moon. It's going to $1 million. You hear this shit. You're gonna get fucking filthy rich. We gotta stop talking. It's not about fucking any of that,
Yeah.
bro. It's about freeing people and educating people on what sound money even is. You know, most people think our dollars are worth something. They're not. They're not backed by any
Right.
fucking energy. You know, no man should work for what another man can print. That's a
Yeah.
Jack Mallard saying. I'll give him credit for that. He says that.
That's
But
a
no man
great
should
quote.
work for
No.
what another man can print. And that's happening on a fucking daily basis. I have assets. I own assets. When
Right.
they print more
Right.
money, I get wealthier.
Right.
And that
Right.
and I will admit that that is not fair for most people. That is not fucking fair, right?
Right.
Why are we taking from the working class man? Like I have people in my family that are working class people. So I can admit that. And a lot of these motherfuckers don't want to admit it, or they just don't want to face that.
No, you're absolutely right. I was just thinking too, and maybe after I, do this, maybe we can see if there's any Caspa questions or life questions in the spaces. See if we can bring people on,
Cool.
see how that goes. Try something new. But no, when you're talking about the fluctuation um of the prices and things like that. And again, we're not. This is just conversation. It's not even about caring about it. I'm just curious. Um, when you look at, let's say, Bitcoin, right? There's 27 million. Is that the number?
Bitcoin's 21 million.
21 million.
Yep.
Okay. Uh, one thing was funny. This really rich dude said it a couple months ago. There's not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire to have one. If every millionaire wanted to own one, there's not enough Bitcoins. And it's like, okay, so it's scarce as fuck. But he was looking at it as an asset, not a medium of exchange, not as peer to peer, not as what it was intended for. So, but I thought that was a cool quote. And another thing I was thinking too, those who do look at it as an asset, like let's say Tesla, let's call Bitcoin Tesla stock, right? Tesla stock has split,
Mm.
and then it's split again, and then it split again. So its market cap never changed, but its ability to have shares did. Crypto's not going to do that. So even if you're looking at it as an asset, if you find the strongest asset, you have faith in your asset because it's not going to split. Also, proof of works, who have set a supply cap, they're not going to increase their cap either, or shouldn't, most likely won't. So I won't say won't,
Yeah.
but most likely
It
won't.
would take
99%. It would take a lot. Yeah,
take a
it would
lot.
take a lot to increase the supply,
Yeah.
and that's why if you want to call Bitcoin an investment, it makes sense. But that's what bugs me out about the community. Oh well, just stack sats. Okay, so you're splitting Bitcoins. I would rather buy 0.003 Bitcoin than 3,000 sats. You know what I mean? I want the pieces of Bitcoin. I want to use Bitcoin. I know Sats is just the nominal breakdown, but it's not necessary because Bitcoin is what it needs to be. It needs to be one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, not one Bitcoin is 1 million Sats, right? Because then you're just dividing the stock.
Yeah.
And I don't think that perspective is a good idea, unless dollar for dollar, Bitcoin is just worth that much money. But no, I was just thinking about that. Like Tesla will split, and then the market cap stays the same. There's more supply, but those who are holding, they get double. I don't think anybody wants to have 5 Bitcoin at 100,000 and then it split to 10 at 50,000. I don't think anybody wants that, and that would actually scare the crypto
It
community
would.
because that means that there's too much control over sovereign assets. So
But essentially,
even if you're looking at it as an investment, you should know that there's security in the supply cap.
yeah, but essentially that's the mindset when they start talking about the price of it and it going up, right? And they're like stack and hold. That's the crypto bro. That's the financial mindset. That's how I see it, at least. It's like, okay, you keep talking about it in that way, and it's get wrapping your head around the 21 million cap, right? And what that did. And I think Saylor coming into the space, how he did, and coming into it to invest it to store, to essentially save his company, because he came in and was the first publicly traded company that threw in as much as they threw in. I want to say it was either 250 or 500 million, and then he committed to making sure to buy and then promote Bitcoin the way he did. But really, when he came into the space is when things really shifted to it being more of a store of value. And then it's like he even talks about it. He goes, maybe Bitcoin isn't ever going to be a currency, a medium of exchange. If you want to do that, use then stable coins got introduced. But to me, those are all necessary steps that we need to take to really understanding what these assets are. And they are literally the digital, like think of what gold has done and what it can't do, right? Gold, the reason gold hasn't survived as money or as a medium of exchange is because it's hard to split that up and really, I think there's so much manipulation, right? That when the gold stocks came out and the ETFs and all that shit, where you can buy paper gold, right? So we put a layer two on gold again, and essentially that's what fiat is too. It was a layer two on gold, even when we were on sound money. But
Yeah.
once we split that energy, once we said in 71, once we said, hey, it's not redeemable. That's when shit hit the fan. Like now we don't have it backing. Now we can go spend more than the energy that we have, and that's when things go to shit. And then that creates the confusion and the finance things. And we have so many people going into finance and the making money and the fucking grinding money and all that, right? Like really getting into all that, and it takes people away from what they're naturally really what I believe people are here for. That's to find your gifts, to bring value to the world, to experience life, to the purpose of being alive, like I've shared on several episodes, right? What's the purpose of being alive?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sorry, the purpose of life
To live.
is to be alive. To be alive,
Yep.
man. Like we all in some way, shape, or form have some gift that we're supposed to share with the world. And I get it. I get it. Some people talk about it, and even I may sound like it a little bit. It's like this whole utopian type of way of looking at things. And I get that we're far away from that. So we got to look at where things are, how things are functioning, and do the best with what we got in front of us, man, about being right here, right now. And I think a big part of that is providing this education, getting people to think a little bit more. Because thinking is frowned upon, bro. Thinking is frowned upon. Like if you think too much, they want you to
Yeah.
be, mummies, and they want you
Well,
just to,
that's back to Rockefeller,
yeah,
right? Rockefeller said it back in the 30s, right?
yeah.
We want a nation of doers, not a nation of thinkers, and that's where the education system was lined up that way. 30s, 40s, whenever it was, 20s, I don't fucking know, but yeah, we want to raise a
And
nation of
think
doers, not a nation of
and think about
thinkers.
how people like.
Yeah.
What do people say to you when? Oh man, what are you up to? What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you
What are
doing?
you up
Yep.
to? It's in our languaging. Like we've been programmed. Oh, what are you up to? What are you doing? Oh, okay. What do you? And it's literally like that. Like one of the
Yeah.
saddest parts for me is like I have really good friends here in Miami, um, but it's like well I don't get to see them that often. I hang out more with the Twitter crowd with being online and shit.
Yeah.
It's just like people are constantly working. I get it, man. It's hard to get out of that. It's hard to get out of that. And I'm just grateful that I was able to come to a place where I could address it and see it. Or else I'd still be in that. I'd still be in it, still trying to make millions. And I probably would have. I probably would have made way a ton more money. But it ended the way it should have in that capacity because it's like okay, it's time to shift this thing, right? And really
Yeah.
be here for what I'm supposed to be here for. And that's all I'm connected to sources the way I see it, and I'm just here to speak truth. Um, and there's so much potential with what this could be, and I just don't see a world where, and it looks like Bitcoin is going to take off and do what a lot of the things in layers. I just personally do not agree with that, and I just don't see a world where that takes off and something as sound and beautiful as Caspa does it.
Oh
It's
yeah. No, absolutely.
virtually impossible.
And I think the best thing that could happen to Bitcoin is Lightning works so good
Yeah,
that the price of Bitcoin goes down because it's not feeding the miners, right? Like it would see, oh my God, we can use this. This is awesome. Wait, why is my value going down? Well, because what you're doing doesn't serve the purpose of what it was built for. Meanwhile, we can run the Caspa experience the same exact way, doing the same exact things, and go, wait, why is Caspa going up? Well, because this is why. And then that proof of how work works is that's my dream, right? That's all I'm hopeful for when it comes to all this stuff is because reality is real. Like how the shit works is how it works. And every single Bitcoiner that says it, well, using Lightning is using Bitcoin. No, it's not. And that's where the proof of work in the proof of work will exist. And that will be exciting because not because I just said it. Bitcoin needs to succeed. I want it to succeed. And if it goes through that speed bump and people realize, okay, we need a more perfect way to do this, then fucking A, fix it, and then we'll be good. But
or
and on
there
the Caspa side of it, We just need the adoption to make it look
Yeah.
similar in success.
I think what it does is it has people that they're like, okay, what can you actually, like you looked at it and I did too. I think Caspa presented itself to me, right? Because I'm in this space of just being open.
Yeah.
I have it on my profile attached to nothing, connected to everything. So Caspa and Bitcoin are just the nouns of ideas, right? And
Yep.
if you can get to there, then you'll be open and you'll see opportunities and you'll live your life in a pretty fun way, bro.
1000%.
You'll get to experience it on this level, um, and that's what I know is available to anybody that wants to look at it that way. It really just takes a shift in perspective. It's like, and all that shit isn't, like you talked about it. I got to work on it. I look forward to getting there at some point. To me,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I think I'm the person that's supposed to remind my people of, hey, bro, it's like we're experiencing this right now. Like this is life, this is richness, this
yeah.
this is wealth right here. Having this conversation, having people listen in on it. Maybe get little tips, tidbits here and there, right? That's what this is about. You experience. So what we're doing right now too, Bishop, is another very cool distinction that I got really early in my life. Like I played football 9 years, high school, college, and it was one of the toughest things was like figuring out what the hell I was gonna do because like football was my passion, and I found some of the joy like when I started in sales, and I got a little bit of that, right? The oh shit, I'm one of the top salespeople. I would get some of that glory, some of the shit that I got from being a quarterback in high school and college. But there was never that like I loved football growing up, and I didn't play football for the money. Eventually, that became
Right.
I knew at some point I wasn't gonna essentially be the chances of me making it pro. Right, most of these guys don't make it pro. So you kind of search for that and you look for it, and it shows up in different ways in your life, but nothing's really guaranteed. And then when I really found out that, oh shit, that moment when I threw that game winning pass, like I can relive that in any and at any point in time if I really choose to. Okay, cool. Let me try that on. And the more and more I've tried that on in my life, the more I've been able to find joy in these moments, bro. But like this is what life's about right here. This is what it is. Connection, being able to speak truth, not getting caught up in the fucking bullshit, the drama in the
Hmm.
world. And that's it, man. And trying to spread that as much as you can. Because there's a lot of people stuck, where the suffering is? It's fucking between the ears, bro. That's where that's what the suffering is.
Now that's
It's
the
right
truth.
up there, bro. That's
That's the mental
that's where it
sovereignty
is.
point.
That's where it is. That's why you and I.
That circles it right back to the mental
Yeah, bro.
sovereignty
That's
for
why you and I.
sure.
It's like I treat Juancito. I call him my inner child. I treat Juancito
Nice.
every Sunday, and I treated him to another fucking Buccaneers loss. So that was that, and we were going back and forth on text, and we hadn't done
Yeah.
that yet. But that leads into why we're doing the show. We want to talk about real life shit, stuff that gets us going, um, and treating the Juancito. I don't know what you call your inner child, but that's my inner child.
It's my inner child still developing. I'm giving him things back that he owed. I did it materialistic for so long. Like for instance, I played basketball as a kid, and I was always the one in cut off sweatpants or had to wear jeans because I never had
Oh
shorts.
man.
Um, I had one pair of shoes and one pair of cleats for the entire year.
Oh.
So I have 80 pairs of shoes and about 40 pairs of gym shorts. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, um, I've done it materialistically. So every Wednesday at 11, I have therapy. So I'm
To work on
I am
that.
working
Yeah.
on yeah, I'm working on what that little guy looks like.
Okay. Cool.
But no, you brought up the Bucks and sports, and that's a good segue. But before we jump through, is there you want to see if
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
in the
We can see we
spaces
have a handful of people in here.
wants to tag the crypto? All right, so if you guys want to tag on the crypto or life part of that, just request to speak, and we'll take some questions or some anecdotes. If not, we'll just move on. No
Yeah. No
big
big
deal.
deal. We'll give it a few minutes. Um, yeah, man. Some real good stuff there, bro. Some real good stuff. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, it's perspective, and you only know what you know. So the more we can have our conversations, hopefully other people know what we know, and then we can listen to them, and then we know what they know, and you just put those pieces together.
And that.
My college, I went to school for pastry arts, and my college chef, I was like, how do you? I said, what's your best advice to get good? He goes, number one, just work hard. But number two, every place you go, the mark of a good chef is taking the good shit and throwing away the bad shit. And I've used that in my connections with
Mm,
people. If I get bad vibes, I don't use their bad vibes. But if I see their curiosity or their warmth or all those things, I try to take that with me. So as much as my personality is all over the place, it's because of that. I took these good things from good people and threw away those bad things from bad people. And the only bad stuff I have left, in my opinion, is the learned behaviors from when I was just a little bishop and didn't have the greatest household to be in.
yeah.
So working on it, but that's it. Yeah. So as long as we can continue to grab perspectives and build, um, you know, that's that's what you need to do,
Yeah.
man. It's all about the conversation.
Absolutely, brother. I'm with you there. It is. Well, we didn't have anybody come on up. It's all good.
Okay. So yeah, let's jump into sports. You mentioned the Bucks. The NFL weekend, week 11 happened, and there's some crazy non predictive paths to first place in a lot of teams. But one of those first place teams is yours
Yeah.
in the NFC South, and it's been a bumpy ride, brother. Talk to me. How are you feeling this
Yeah, I
Sunday?
mean, so the good news is, I mean, the Bucks have won the division the past 5 years, right? So we're kind of getting used to that. So obviously had Brady starting in 20, the Super Bowl that year. So that I think they're right where I thought they would be, and they've obviously lost some super important pieces. So Mike Evans getting injured and out pretty much for the year. Godwin's not there. So they're playing with a lot of young guys. The lines finally come back together, but they're 6-4. And the surprise team in the South. Actually, I'm not even surprised with them because I kind of like Bryce Young and I like Dave Canales. He was the offensive coordinator for the Bucks 2 years ago, and he got the head coaching job. And Baker, despite Baker's been in the league. You know this? He's been in the league 8 years, and he's had 8 offensive coordinators. He's never had the same offensive
Wow.
coordinators going into the next year. And as a quarterback, like I played in high school and college. I had the same coaches all the way through. I remember that second year, how it was you're just a completely different player being in the same system because one of the beautiful things about football for me was being a quarterback. Just it's again like I compare it a lot to learning about sound money. It's a completely different world. It's a completely different world. So I watch the game from a different set of eyes, but it's 11 guys going against 11 guys, and your will against their will. I look at them as the modern day gladiators, but you have to strategize, and there's things you can do. There's a certain set of rules you have to follow, and certain players can go and do. Not everybody can go out for a pass, or so there's a lot of intricacies of the game that really get me going, right? And it's really cool to see what Baker's been able to do. So even though they're 6-4, they've lost the last 2 games to pretty good opponents, right? They lost to the Patriots, who have an up and coming young team. And then they played Buffalo this week, and just Josh Allen went off in the fucking fourth quarter. He had 6 touchdowns. The Bucks made it
Crazy.
close. They were up 21.
Three throwing, three rushing. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, and he threw a first quarter interception. I'm like, none of this shit matters. It always comes down with Josh Allen players. That's the MVP. You don't realize, like, he's allowed to do some shit like that because he has the talent to make up for it later on in the game. So he did. And I saw when they lost it there. It was fucking cold too, bro. That's another thing. So playing in that type of weather. I went to college in Wisconsin, right off of Lake Michigan. I remember I
Mm,
remember being in the first time I saw snow, but practicing. I don't really see the field much in college, but it's the worst. It's I don't understand how these guys do it. I mean, your body warms up a little bit being in the cold, but you can't
yeah.
move the way you do down here in the sunshine, bro. Like, it's a completely different animal to tackle. So, I think that plays a factor when the Bucks, like most warm weather teams, aren't great. So I know Buffalo's building a new stadium. They're gonna have a new stadium, I think, next year. I'm not sure if it's a dome or not, but
It's
it's
not.
not. Okay.
It's not.
I've been to
No,
that.
they're
That's one
not
of the
putting a
21
dome on it.
stadiums that I've been to. So I've been there, and
Oh,
nostalgic.
nice.
It's old school. Most of the stadiums
Yeah,
have like TVs when you walk around. Buffalo doesn't. Old school. You got to go, and those fans stay
nice.
stay standing the entire time. So it wasn't. I went last. I want to say, yeah, no, it was 2 years ago. I went in 2020, 2023, or yeah, 2023. But I went on a Thursday night game. Baker threw up a Hail Mary. Chris Godwin should have caught, and it went right. He acted like he didn't see the ball in the air. Um, So yeah, man, they're going through the tough part of their schedule. They play the who do they play next? Oh, we got to go to LA and play Matthew Stafford, who's probably going to
Oh,
win his first MVP. So it's brutal. And then we got
oh,
Carolina a couple
yeah.
times. I think Atlanta, the Saints. So I don't even. And I think Carolina is going to be a tough matchup. Always is. You know, they've surprised people. The Falcons were favored, and they're what 3-8,
Three and
three and
seven right
seven,
now. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Carolina's 6-5.
And just lost their quarterback.
Oh, Penix is out.
Michael Penix,
What?
yeah, he's I something with his knee. Yeah, he's most likely done for the year. I don't know if I saw a recent post about it or not, but yeah,
Oh
tore his knee
man,
up.
that's
Yeah,
I hate
they
seeing
said
that with young players, man. I know he had like
they said it's potentially his 5th season-ending injury. Yeah,
yeah, bro.
and his so from college to pro is potentially his 5th season-ending injury. Yeah,
Damn, dude, that's like that. It sucks to see people get injured like that, but it's a brutal game, man. He didn't even fall back on it. Weird. I think probably a pre-existing injury that just like he took. You know what happens for me, bro? Because like I have limited range of motion in my knees. I've worked through it doing some yoga over the past year and a half. But when I see these guys, when I was playing and people would get hit, I'd be like, oh, that ain't shit. But now that I've gotten older, like when I see these guys bent, I'm like, oh, like I literally have a physical reaction. I'm
yep,
like, oh shit, that should
yeah.
it doesn't hurt them when they're younger. It starts to hurt a little bit later in their careers. So I think it's going to be tough to win out in LA. I could see them pulling it off though. This is a team of when everybody counts them out. That's when Baker shines. When people count him out
I,
is when they start bringing in some magic, and then we'll see how it plays out. But I think they're still favored to win the division. See where they land.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Carolina's path is going to be. I as a Packers fan and losing to Carolina, um, my issue with the Packers this year, it's just offensive and defensive line. Defensive line's not getting enough pressure to cause turnovers on the back end. We're like second lowest in the league in turnovers, and the offensive line's not giving enough protection in the passing game to allow the receivers to get open. So like, that's why we lost to Carolina. Like, yes, Carolina won the game, but we didn't cause enough pressure on the last drive to prevent the field goal, and we didn't open up the passing game to have success. So, because the Packers on paper and on the field are just a better team than the Panthers, but we lost to the Panthers. So the Panthers, they're 6-5.
Yeah,
And yeah, there's a chance. But I'm a Baker guy. I've liked him since his rookie year in Cleveland. I wasn't a fan of him coming out of college because he was a young kid, man, and he was acting like a kid, and we've seen it before. Kids who act like kids in college never grow up in the NFL.
Manziel, Johnny Manziel.
Manziel's, yeah, prime example, right? Matt Leinart didn't work out. These flashy guys who act too much like their kids. It just doesn't work. But when Baker came in and balled when they didn't want him to play, I was like, oh, this guy's different, and he throws a fantastic looking
Bro, you
ball.
should see that thing
Um,
live. Like it's
I would
oh my
imagine.
god. And by the way,
I would
I'm
imagine.
6'1". Like the dude is
Uh,
they list him at 6 feet. I'd be surprised if he's taller than 5'10".
nah,
I've been like right there next to him.
yeah. Yeah, he throws a great ball, and I just root for him. When the Browns were looking to draft him, they had the first and the fourth pick, and everyone was talking shit on Baker, and I was like, wait, if nobody wants him, why don't you draft Saquon 1 and then Baker at 4? And could you imagine the two of them being on the same team? They probably both would have left the Browns by
Yeah,
now, but still,
yeah.
like,
They would have.
you know,
They wouldn't be there. Cleveland's
but
a disaster, bro.
yeah, they're a big, but no, I think Baker's got everything to be an MVP. He's got everything to be a Super Bowl champion. This might be the toughest year that you guys had in the last 5, like you said, or last 6, like you said, because of the turnover at offensive coordinator, and honestly, the defense looks a little long in the tooth. But that's your squad, bro.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
your squad, and I'm rooting for you in the aspect of you're my boy. Other than that,
well, I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate it, and I'll
yeah.
tell you, I'm doing the same for you, even though I'm not a huge Packers fan. So
Well, it's fun. Look, it's fun to we talked about this last week on episode 2 of Live on the Kaspa Standard. We we watch the games with our heart in the moment, our passion,
Yes,
and then when the game's
that's it.
over, we move on.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really cool because I was watching the game, Packers Giants, and your boy Jameis got the start,
Oh,
which
we
was
gotta.
a
Oh, that's gonna be fun to talk about right there, bro.
yeah. Um, he's a character and a half, man, and he seems like a good dude. But I was very happy to win that game, and then also at the end of it, I just go, "But we should have fucking lost so many
Really?
times
I
over
didn't
for the
watch the
same
game.
reason." Yeah, for the same reasons. The Giants led most of the game, and we just couldn't stop them. They dropped 4 interceptions,
That's how many.
ended
I
up with
told you he'd be good for
yeah,
a pick six, but I
yeah.
didn't see the game.
So they dropped 4, and none in the same drive. So it would have been 4 different drives where they had an interception, and they actually did get one to end the game, um, or well, to end one of the drives before the end of the game where it was a sack to end the game. But yeah, it was just he played great because he's a phenomenal leader. But the Packers have their issues, man. It's bad O line play to not let plays develop, and if you don't have good O line play, you don't have shit. You know that.
Yeah, that's the truth, bro. It's the truth. But Jameis, the NFL is always better when that kid's out there. He is a soundbite just waiting to happen. I posted something on my Instagram about because I'm a Florida State fan, so I was a big fan of James, and Jameis played for my Bucks from 2015 to 2019, right before they got Tom Brady. But we were so hopeful. Even though the team lost every year he was a starting quarterback, it was exciting to like hear him on the panel after interviews. There was a little clip done I saw on the pregame that I recorded
Yeah.
and posted up, but he's got some of the craziest sayings, the eating a W and what his teammates have talked about. But people love Jameis and his personality. It just hasn't worked out for him on the field. So he played. I saw little clips of the game, but you're saying Jameis played a pretty good game, like besides
He played yeah, he played a very smart game. Uh, but when it started to fold on top of him, he ran out of
that. That's
gas.
what I
And
yeah.
he wasn't able to play smart anymore. So like even on the last play when he had a chance to push them towards tying the game, he waited too long and stepped up into the pocket instead of rolling out of it and, sack fumble to end the game. But yeah, no, he played incredibly smart. And the first drive, they drove down and got a touchdown. Like he just moved the ball the way a very good veteran would. I mean, he's a Heisman Trophy winner. He
Yeah,
knows how to
yeah,
play
no,
the
no,
game.
first overall pick too,
So
bro. Like that kid's got all the
yeah, number one
talent,
overall pick. Yeah,
in the world, and that's
yeah.
another one. That's another one. If you watch him throw and warm up, versus Baker's like that. There's a couple people that when they throw a football, it's like, oh shit, okay, that's why they were picked first overall because it just comes out of their
Right,
hands completely different. It's just a beautiful,
thousand
and I
percent.
appreciate that because like I didn't have the strongest arm. I was just like smart and accurate, and I had to time it up. I was like a Kurt Warner. I would describe my game
Mm.
more like a Kurt Warner. I had to time things up and just anticipate. Mac Jones is another one like that I would compare myself to.
I had a very Favre approach when I would play back, so I could always throw a football further than everyone I've ever known. I've never played backyard football or neighborhood football with anyone who could throw a football farther than me. I've also never been taught how to throw a football, so I have zero mechanics, and everything I've learned from sport is from watching TV. I was never really shown how to hit by anyone, never really shown how to throw by anyone. My mom's the only one to ever put a ball in my hand and go, do it like this. So it's not like she actually knew full positioning, but shouts to mom for that. When I was like 4, we would stand in the front yard and throw a mini football over the top of the house. When I was 4, my mom and I
Wow.
would do that. It was a little mini Penn State football. I don't know where it came from, but I know we moved out of that house when I was 6, so it was or when I was 5, so it was 4 and 5 is when we would do that. So I always had an arm of
Okay.
sorts, um, but I was never taught. And at my peak, I threw 165 yards, and I don't know if it was good mechanics. I can always get into a spiral. I'm teaching my kid how to throw one, um, but the consistency of it and the depth of throwing the ball with the spiral, I just don't have that. But yeah, I've always been able to throw a ball really fucking far.
So you just had that
Um,
naturally.
but
You could naturally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I was always a big kid, so I had a base that would, you know, that could help with that. So, planting the foot and turning the hips. I've always had that. But yeah. That was natural as shit. And one of the reasons why I'm glad we got to that point is because in today's day and age, kids are all put through the same analytics, the same metrics, the same formations when it comes to sport. If you look at, any playground leagues, any Pop Warner, any CYOs, any of that, everyone does the same shooting drills. Everyone does and there's no, like, when it comes to shooting, when I mean shooting drills or throwing motions, like, it's all the same set. My son came home from basketball tryouts and he goes, well, we all had to dribble the ball like this, and it was through the legs, behind the back, and then in the front crossover.
Okay.
So you're going crossover through the leg, crossover behind the back, crossover in front, and it helps with, the tactileness of ball handling. But look at Wemby. Wemby's 7 foot, whatever the fuck. He's got zero muscle definition because he's been doing drills like that since he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
No one's in the gym working out. No one else is expanding their skills beyond to what their body type is. And I wanted to bring that up, and I'm glad we kind of got there naturally, to transition away from football for a second. Shohei Ohtani just won the
Mm.
MVP last week after the show in baseball for the fourth time, all 4 times unanimous. The reason why he wins the MVP is because he's fantastic at baseball in several different facets of the game, because he refused to be typecast into this thing that all these leagues make you do. Now, I don't know if they necessarily do it in Japan, but for instance, if he was to play in America, he would be forced to swing a certain way because everyone's taught the same swing.
Mm.
He would be forced to pick a position based on his athleticism, not be able to explore both talents. Shohei Ohtani is a top flight hitter, and he is a top flight ability pitcher. His stamina reduces how good he is as a pitcher. So I'm not going to give him like an ace value when it comes to a starter in baseball. He's definitely, if he's not a top tier number 2 starter, he is the absolute best number 3 starter in baseball. Like, that's how good he is at throwing a baseball.
Damn.
He had a game this season in the playoffs where he hit 3 home runs and had 10 strikeouts.
Damn.
I say that, and I appreciate his ability, but the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because of that. Instructional baseball growing up, everyone that he's facing was forced into these spots. They don't have that natural ability to put into being able to swing, being able to bunt anymore. It's not like Tony Gwynn struck out a less than 200 times.
I remember. Yeah, well, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's people who strike out over 200 times in a season, and that's okay because they hit 40 home runs. But when you have different skill sets and abilities to uniqueness of who you are, you get to Shohei Ohtani it, where you can play both sides, right? How many people in America will ever be able to play both sides when they get to the majors? None, because they don't build up them that way. They build them up to be launch angle hitters. Well, if you have someone who doesn't learn launch angle hitting and they learn precision baseball, you know what they're going to be able to do? Strike out 10 batters while being able to hit 3 home runs. So as good as Ohtani is, the skill sets on the other side aren't what they used to be because there's no uniqueness. You can approach every right-handed batter the same way because all right-handed batters were taught that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just saw a clip the other day of Mark Jackson in basketball. He used to coach the Warriors. They fired him.
Pacers.
Steve
Yeah,
Kerr
I
came
know.
along.
Play with Reggie Miller. Yep.
He once they got rid of him and they brought in Steve Kerr, the Warriors won all those championships.
Yeah.
Mark Jackson said Steph Curry ruined the NBA. This is something that I
said
for
that
a
he
while,
ruined it. I haven't heard him say that. Wow.
Yes, and what he meant was it's not a jab at Curry. It's these coaches who aren't telling these children Steph Curry is unique. That's his talent. They're allowing these children to take half court shots because Curry can pull up from anywhere. right? But Curry even admitted after an injury is when he changed his shooting format to be able to hit from distance the way he does. So like this is developed over time based on his particular skill set, right? But now kids are shooting from everywhere. Like I just said about Wemby, he's 7 foot whatever and has no
Or
muscle tone at all. You know, he's 7'4". When Shaq was 7'2", he was fucking 300 pounds.
and
Wemby weighs what?
moves
Maybe
like a
240.
gymnast. Like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like you're allowed to have all of that. And the fact that athletes are now every basketball player looks the same, man. Like they all are just tall, lanky people. LeBron might be the last big dude that's going to be in the NBA, and that's crazy. Because when he got in the NBA, everyone that played the 4 and the 5 was bigger than LeBron. Now LeBron is bigger than every 4 and 5 in the NBA. It's crazy
Yeah, I like.
because everyone's pushed towards this universal skill set as opposed to being an individual with athleticism that can be an Otani type to be able to pitch and hit to earn unanimous MVPs. Your thoughts?
No, I mean, there's a lot there to unpack. Where I think you laid it out in terms of what is happening. I look at it as just the natural course of what ends up happening when a player. You know, you could say the same thing about Michael Jordan when he did his thing in the '90s, right? He got people to start shooting the mid-range jumpers, and that was the game for a while, right? And I don't see how. I think it's beautiful to see something like Otani doing what he does in baseball because it makes it exciting, right? Like I tune in a little bit. I'm not the biggest baseball fan, but I tune in a little bit because I'm like, oh, that guy's kind of different and crazy. He's changing the game. Same with Curry. Same with Curry. I disagree that he's made the game worse, but I don't know if you're aware of this. Aren't isn't viewership down for the NBA? Aren't like not as many
Yeah.
people are watching it. And
Yep.
I think because just naturally there's just a lot of other things that people are more interested in. When we were growing up, sports was what was on TV, bro. So that's what we had to watch, and
Yeah.
there's so many fucking options for these kids to get into. Yeah, man. I'm with you there on definitely a lot of people don't go with their natural instincts or hey, this is what you're good at, so develop this skill, and they try to be something that they're not, and then that could essentially hurt the game long term, or we don't get the best out of people necessarily because they're not working towards their strengths. And then you have freak of natures like Wemby is a freak of nature, so he's 7'4" and moves like a guard, moves like
Right.
somebody who's 6'1", right? And it'll be interesting to see him continue to develop because he is becoming a force in the league, and see where the game evolves to, bro. I'm an optimistic observer. So like I hear you being like I hear you being like, okay, but this is the way the game used to be, and this is what they've done. Like, what are they doing? I kind of see it as, hey, this is what's fucking happening. This is what's going on in the game. Okay, why is that happening?
Bro, he's 7'4", 235
Yeah,
pounds.
yeah. Like he's built different. He's completely, bro. Some of these guys, like, do you remember hearing the story of Rodman? Rodman was 5'9" his senior year in high school when he graduated, and then he went to college and literally grew. I think Rodman ended up like 6'8". He grew 6, 7 inches in his freshman year of college. Some of these kids are freaks of nature. Like, how does that happen? How the hell does that happen? What are they eating? I mean, my son grew 6 inches this past year, but he went through. He's 12. Went through that stage
Right.
where the voice got deeper and
Yeah.
all that. You know. So I mean that shit happens, but I'm an optimistic observer. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can appreciate the old school ways and the new school ways. I don't watch any other sport besides football until the finals, until like I watched the World Series and I fell asleep. I
Sure.
fell asleep when that shit happened. I was like, damn. I always root for the underdogs too. I was hoping the Blue Jays would pull that off, but the fact that they ended up losing that shit in the ninth, right?
Well, they
And
were up
in
in the
extra
ninth, gave
innings,
up a
yeah,
home
in
run in
extra
the
innings.
ninth. They lost it in the 10th. Yeah. No, and that's baseball is kind of a better example of still maintaining beauty of sport because even if you load up a team like the Dodgers, they were 2 outs away from losing the World Series
Yeah,
to the Blue Jays. And even the guy who hit the home run isn't the guy that they paid $1 billion to
Will
do it.
Smith,
So
right?
Will Smith hit it, yeah, and he's just a catcher for them. So yeah, man, it's definitely, I yes, I have some get off my lawn, I do have that in me because yes, I would rather an NBA game finish 98 to 83 because there was
Oh, we're not
great
getting
defense
that, dude.
that was great defense that was played, but defense is so
Oh
irrelevant
yeah,
now
they don't.
that and that's what I'm saying. So like, yes, I'm cool with it. Like I get where the game has evolved to, and I understand that it's not for me. And I would prefer diversity in what exists. And the fact that it doesn't, then well, yeah, it's not for me. And like I said, there's no if every power forward and center has a 3 pointer, like I'm sorry, like that doesn't feel like basketball to me. And I played basketball in high school.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Mm.
Every single week from this time sophomore year until March of senior year or April of senior year, every single week there was at least one organized game that I was a part of, nonstop through spring, through summer, through fall, all that shit. We did summer leagues, all that. We played so much basketball, and there was a, a competition through each position, not run zone, shoot up threes. You know what I mean? And it's just like that. There's no game to that. We talked about it last week too on the show. When it comes to like football itself, right? You have these on-field thinkers. You have coaches that try to out scheme the game. What do we have in the purity of football still? Right? I think we're done complaining about how physical corners and receivers are. Right? Like it kind of just happens. I think those inflated numbers from yards have kind of gone down. The one thing that's still true is your touchdown interception ratio. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
think watching a game, watching a guy like Jameis Winston, or seeing how that battle with Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield went, like you're looking at quarterback execution, and if they don't execute by moving that ball forward, you still have the purity of the game. Even though it was a high scoring game, mostly the reason why an offense scores is because of precision in execution, not because the game has changed so much.
yeah, it's definitely, especially when you have quarterbacks like a Baker and a Josh, it's really them executing, carrying it out.
Yeah.
And because neither one of those defenses, when the offenses are on point with quarterbacks like that, these quarterbacks know the game at such a level where it's just like if you throw the ball, and that's the thing too about football is because there were a couple throws. I said the same thing last week. There were a couple throws where Baker just missed it, and Josh Allen missed it earlier in the game, right? But Josh Allen can make up for it with his ridiculous arm. He had one play where I mean, there's no way that they can cover it. But most fans are going to be like, oh, how can you let them that wide open? It's like nobody can cover these ridiculously gifted athletes for
Right.
that long, bro. Like Josh Allen's just different. He gets away. And Baker does the same thing sometimes, right? He gets away, extends the play, and then fucking makes it look like not everybody can do what those guys do. And I've even heard Josh Allen say this. He says he's like because people still talk shit on Baker, but Baker has one of the best arms in the NFL. I remember seeing a clip of the longest throws. I think this was in 2020 when he was with the Browns, the last years with the Browns. They showed the top 20 longest throws or top 10 longest throws in the NFL. He had four of them that season.
Mm.
You know, I haven't seen anything broken down like that, but that dude can fling it. He threw one past to Mecca Buka when they played the Seattle Seahawks, and it literally went 70 yards in the air, just like a flinged it. So that's there, bro. He's got that talent.
Yeah.
Those guys can change a game, bro. And like that's why they, first overall pick. And I think they were in the same draft. They were in the
Yeah.
same draft,
Yep.
2018.
Yep.
Nobody
Yep.
understood that shit. And yeah, man.
There.
I think when these kids work on their natural talent, you get the best out of them in the games. Like I have a really good friend that's a quarterback coach. He was actually a foreign exchange student that came to my high school my senior year and was going to take my spot, but he couldn't get eligible. Thank God. But now he's literally the quarterback coach for Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Cam Ward.
Nice.
all these guys. So I get the inside scoop. He's eventually going to become a coach in the NFL. His name's Will Hewlett. And it's really
Nice.
cool to see his journey, man. Because talk about self sovereignty and moving on. He sold cars like back in 2007. We were in Tampa, and he's like, I can't do this. And his wife was running a business. She's like, go do what you love. And he was able to build from the ground up. Was able to build, just worked with local high school kids in the Tampa area, and then eventually moved out to California. Got in like the quarterback circles there. So he's known, for example, he's known Caleb Williams since he was like in eighth grade, something like that.
Oh wow.
Um, he's got a bunch of relationships with, like Brock Purdy is another one that he got really, really early, and you're seeing their success. And he has a different style in terms of how he teaches these guys like to work more with their natural ability. Because when I was in college, you can't see me if you're on the spaces, but they would have me hold the ball up here and do this. That's not natural, bro. Remember Aaron
Right.
Rodgers when he came out of
Yeah.
Cal?
Solo. Yeah.
That's when I came out. Like this fucked me up. Like it messed me up big time because it's
Yeah.
not like a natural way. And like you said, where you could naturally throw the ball, you got to work with natural mechanics. And he's somebody that's definitely helping with that with some of these players because like Baker, I think would be able to throw it 80 yards in the air if he tweaked a couple
Sure.
things. But you don't want to mess with somebody's natural ability, man.
No. Yeah, not if it's going to force them into a lack of success,
Yeah,
for sure.
I
And I think that's, I think that's what happens. We see so many people with natural ability, succeed in spite.
yeah, absolutely, bro. You can't take people
Awesome.
away from their natural instincts and how to do things. Because you'll get the best out of them when you let that play out and coach it up, yeah, but don't change. My buddy has his boy is 8 years old, and he's a natural athlete just like his dad, and he wants to be a quarterback. So we went to go see him actually a couple weekends ago. And he called me. He's one of my best friends. His son calls me Tio Juan, and then now I'm the quarterback. And I was out there, and I just like watched the kid throw. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to coach that up. I'm like, that kid just has a natural spin on the ball. I go, you just got to get foot placement, make sure that he's balanced when he's throwing it. Teach him a couple basic mechanics, but you don't mess with the throwing motion when somebody's just naturally like I'm telling you, this 8-year-old kid can fling it just like again naturally. That's how it was for me too.
Yeah.
I picked up a
Yeah.
football and I could throw it. So that you kind of have or you don't. My son cannot throw a football, for example. Like he would be an offensive lineman if anything. If he's a big boy. So yeah, that's my opinion on that, brother.
Awesome. Well, I only have one more sports thing that I wanted to touch on. Before the Giants played the Packers, Brian Daboll was relieved of
Ooh,
duties, their head coach, and they have a rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, who got released, or I'm sorry, who got
got
injured.
injured.
He's in concussion protocol. Yeah. Um, and when I saw, because I felt bad for Dayball to start because he had the Daniel Jones experience, and Daniel Jones is killing it in Indiana right now. And he didn't do well for Dayball. And they got rid of Saquon, and then Saquon went and did well. And I'm like, okay, well, are these his people? Does he need to install his system? Does he need to look a certain way? Jackson Dart comes along for the Giants, and they start playing really well.
Mm,
What I didn't realize is that they've given up 4 10-plus leads in the fourth quarter this year. So like they should be 6-5 right now, right? Not
yeah.
2-9.
Yep.
So in my opinion, like, okay, I get it why you're fired. But when you look at what the job is, the New York Giants head coaching job, there's a specific coach out there that came up through the Giants system, won Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator, who only has 30 wins left to become the number one winningest coach of all time.
Yeah.
Is there a
On.
chance that Bill Belichick leaves the college game to go to be the head coach of the Giants next year?
I think it makes sense for him considering how much of a flop him being in North Carolina is playing out to be right now. North Carolina, I don't understand that move. I think he's having past a midlife crisis. Like, isn't he dating a 27-year-old chick? Like that doesn't.
Sure is. She might even be younger than
Yeah,
that.
and I remember seeing him on an interview where where he was asked the question, and she wasn't in the interview, but she said, "We don't need to talk about that." She yelled it out loud, kind of running shit for him. I mean, he's an old man, and I guess living his life, but I don't get. I don't. Not to judge him on any of that. I just had to point that out. It's kind of
Sure.
right. Like, him going to the actually, because of the way the college football game is now. Um, Set up right with the NIL. These
Yeah.
kids, it's not the same game, right? They're getting paid coming out of high school, and it's a completely different game. So you deal with that in the NFL. I just don't see it doesn't make sense for him to stay in North Carolina. And if the Giants want him, and I think it'd be great for their market. It's a guy that he won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, like you said, as a
Yep.
defensive coordinator. Um, yeah, man, I think it'd be good for them, good for the NFL. I hate when coaches get fired in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And I get it; it's a business. Dable, they have these leads and they blow up, but he's not on the field. That's the players
Right.
not executing the game plan. And I've seen a turnaround, like for myself in high school, for example, and this really laid a foundation for me in life to never give up during the turmoil. But I saw our program, for example. I went to Venice High School, and my freshman and sophomore year, the varsity teams were 0-10.
Mm.
And before that they hadn't won a game in 4 years. And then but they hired a new guy going into my junior year. And he came in and he set just a completely different foundation. I'm talking militaristic. We'd have our helmets on. He just had all these rules, and he didn't give a shit how talented you were. He just set a new standard. And it was like, you need to dedicate yourself to football. He even had some guys that played multiple sports. Like, he didn't give a shit. One of our best players, a tight end, ended up getting drafted by the Red Sox, but he didn't end up playing senior year. And he played the players that showed up. Like, I was the starting quarterback my senior year, but there was a kid right below me that was definitely more talented. They won the state title the year after I did. So 0-10, 0-10. My junior year 6-4. My senior year 7-3. Um, and then they win the state title, and then he gets fired actually. But the guy that came in was the defensive coordinator. This guy was intense. This guy was intense. Like, he wouldn't
Gotcha.
take shit, and he did. He played the players that showed up to practice and like were dedicated to the team. So we weren't always the most skilled people, but it in my eyes showed me when I was younger. Okay, I don't need to be the most talented, but if I work hard and I stick with this, it's gonna end up playing out in my favor. So that's what I learned from that. So all that to say, I just don't think, like, even though they lost 4 fourth quarter leads, that you could see the growth, and he's got a rookie quarterback, right? And I like
Right.
that Scatteroo kid. Unfortunately, had that season-ending injury. It was just
Yeah.
like you
Busted his
you you
ankle.
you
Yep.
never know, and I think they give up on some of these coaches and these systems a little too early, and there's so much fucking turnover. So I mean, Belichick could go there and might hype things up, but he might be a little too old school for these kids, man. Like, these kids are just different. They're
Yeah.
completely different, man. So I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up playing out. I can see that happening though. I can see the Bill Belichick hire, and I can see it flopping too. By the way, so
Oh, for sure. No,
like Nick
absolutely. I
Saban
mean,
going to the
he's
Dolphins, and he's like, "Nah, I need to go
yeah.
fucking back to Alabama." Like, Nick Saban was a college coach,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's sitting at 302 regular season wins. He is 16 behind George Hallis and 26 behind Don Shula. So even if he did come back, it would take some either consistency or immediate success. And I think you're right. Immediate success is probably off the table. But if he was able to win, if he was able to go 8-9 for 3 years, then he gets what he's looking for. But I don't necessarily know what kind of leniency there'll be. I mean, when you look at the Commanders with Jaden Daniels, even though they're not performing well this year because he's been injured, they just went to the NFC Championship game last year and played against the Eagles, who show no signs of truly slowing down their approach.
Right.
So it'd be a tough division to get some wins in. But even nowadays, too, when you look at the NFL, something that bugs me out a little bit, there's 17 games and only 6 are against your division. So you have 11 games every year outside of your division that you have the opportunity for someone like Belichick to see that success. The reason why I say it bugs me out is because the way sports used to work in the get off my lawn. If you have
Tell
success
us.
within your division, you win that division,
Yes.
right? But now you can literally go 6-0 in your division, 0-11 outside your division, and now you don't even make the playoffs, right? If you go 6-11, and it's not like that's ever happened, but it could. And that's how do you win your division but not win your division, right? You have the best record in your division, or your best record against the opponents in your division, but because you don't have the best record outside, you don't make the playoffs. That's like that. I don't like that. I
Bro.
like that because again, back in our day,
Yeah.
back in our
No,
day.
you're right. Like,
So the NFC North, right? When the Bucks and the Packers were in the NFC North together, there was 5 teams, and you would have to play 8 of your 16 games in your division. So if you go 8-0, yes, you could go 0-8 and potentially miss the playoffs, but you most likely wouldn't. So you win 2 or 3 games outside your division, you're 10-6, you're 11-5, and then you win your division. That's how it used to be, and there's a value. That's what I'm saying. There's a
yeah, you
value
would
on
get better.
being
I think you would get
successful in
better
your division.
quality.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you
Yeah.
there. You would
Yeah.
get better quality
Okay.
teams making the
Yeah.
playoffs versus.
Yeah.
Listen,
Get off our lawn.
yeah, bro. I mentioned earlier the Bucks won 5. They've won 5 straight division titles. They've won 2 of those with I want to say with losing. One was 8-9, another one was 9-8. That division hasn't
Yeah.
been strong for a number of years. People called it the bottom barrel of the NFL. So yeah, I'm with you, bro. I think you do get better quality when it's structured, in the way that it was in the past. Unfortunately, we're not in the past, bro. It is what
Right.
it is.
Nah, for sure.
So that what ends up happening is you get these teams like the Bucks who made it last year. I want to say they were 10-7, but the year before that when they were 8-9 and just knew they were going to get whooped in the first round. They weren't a playoff team. And they did. They
Right.
got us. I think that's the year. No, the Eagles won it last year. But yeah, that was Baker's first year. Baker balled out, but a fumble there, and no, that's when they
Oh, no, you
lost to
guys beat the
Detroit. That's
Eagles.
when they lost to Detroit. In
Yeah, when
Detroit.
you were 8-9, you beat the Eagles in the playoffs. That was Kelsey's last game when you were 8-9, and then you guys lost to the
I think
Rams
Brady was the
in that.
quarterback then, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No,
No,
it was
it was
Baker's.
Baker. Okay.
Yeah, because Brady got knocked
Oh, we
out
beat
in the
them. You're
first
talking, yeah,
round, right?
Baker's first year. We beat them in the first round. The second
Yeah,
round.
you beat the Eagles in the first round. The second round is was the shootout.
Oh, dude, I was there. I was at
No,
that game
Brady lost the shootout to the Rams.
to the Rams. You're right. That was his last game.
Yeah. So it was the following year was when you guys beat the Eagles, right?
No. Yeah, no, yes, yeah. Baker's first year, they beat the Eagles in the first round, and then we went to Detroit
Yeah.
and lost to Detroit. I was at that game, and that was Detroit's first
Nice.
playoff win since 1992. That's when I got really good seats right behind the Bucks bench, and bro, people season ticket holders like giving me a hug on the way up, like, oh, we haven't felt this. They were the coolest fans.
Nice.
It was pretty neat to be in
Nice.
that stadium and experience that. That was the loudest I've ever heard a stadium. It was nuts. That's the game. Yeah, Baker ended the game on an interception, and they went fucking crazy. That's one of the cool things about watching this shit live. So yeah, I was
For
at that
sure.
playoff game.
Nice. I was in that stadium in 2023.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 2023. I went for SummerSlam.
Oh shit. Okay.
So yeah, my journey into this space for those who are listening, I also host the Terrible Wrestling Takes podcast. If you search Terrible Wrestling Takes podcast on any platform, I also post the audio of what we do here for live on the Kaspa Standard. We'll centralize at some point to a separate feed, but for continuity as we figure this out, that's where that is. So my journey into X and the Kaspa community just being online has been through wrestling.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they had SummerSlam in Detroit in 23, I think it was, and we went out there. We went to Mom's Spaghetti, and we clowned around the town. Detroit was a great town, man. We really enjoyed it. We actually stayed in Canada one night because it's right there. So we're like, hey, let's go to Canada too. We got passports and everything. It was really neat to kind of make that a little family trip. And then we drove to Chicago the day after SummerSlam and caught Yankees versus White Sox. So that was a cool little family trip. So yeah, I was in the stadium. That might have even been the same year, right?
2023. Yeah, I think that.
2023.
Yeah, that was Baker's first
funny.
year. Yeah, that was the same year, bro. Same year.
That's funny.
Yeah, super cool.
So we've just been missing each other. It's the energy's always been.
Yeah,
there,
man. Well, we were supposed. Yeah, you're right. We had to come together now, though, right? That's
Fuck yeah.
the way it works.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, man. As far as what we we don't really talk before the show, but I did, throw some things at you during the week that I thought I wanted to touch on. I'm kind of maxed out on the things that I wanted to touch on. I mean, we can freestyle and talk for another 4 hours, but when it comes to at least what I had coming into this, that's kind of all I'm
Yeah,
at.
man. I think we chatted it up today. Leave it for next week. Who do you guys got this week? Who do the Packers play?
Vikings.
Okay.
So yeah, we're playing the Vikings, and dude, so we're 6-3-1. We have 7 games left. Those games are 2 against the Vikings, 2 against the Bears,
Ooh.
1 against the Lions,
Ooh.
1 against. Oh damn, who was it? I lost it. I believe it's a tough fucking
Yeah, it
schedule. Let me
sounds
just pull
like
it up
it,
real quick.
bro. Damn.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, specifically since the Bears are playing so well. Um, okay, so it's Vikings next week, Lions Thanksgiving, Bears. Oh, then Broncos, the 9-2 Broncos. Then the Bears again, and then the Ravens, and then the Vikings. So if the Ravens continue their downturn, that'll be great, and the Vikings stay where they're at, that'd be great. But the other 4 games, so tough. Lions, Bears, Broncos, Bears, all in a row. Like, not good, man.
Damn. Yeah. That is. I mean, and it's the opposite for my squad, bro. We got the Rams next week. I think that might be their last loss though, because then we play. The Bucks could finish 12-5 and host a playoff. Maybe even, who else is out there with a better record in the NFC?
Well, it is tough because there's only one bye. You got to remember that.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, Eagles are eight and
Okay,
two.
they're 8-2.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, Eagles 8-2, Bears 7-3. You guys are 6-4. Rams are 8-2. So if you can beat the Rams, you have a good path, but you still have to
yeah.
make
So
up
so
another loss on them too.
I mean, at 12-5, that would mean I think the only challenge. Look, this is a schedule: the Rams, and then the Cardinals and Saints, and then the Falcons. Now without Penix, and then the Panthers, and then the Dolphins, and then the Panthers again. The Dolphins game is here in Miami, so I'll be at that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. No, that's a great schedule to
Yeah.
have, and you're right. If you guys play your game, you should be able to win out. And that's where a win against the Rams would be huge. If you could beat the Rams, then you
Then
can
they could
definitely
do
see a
they've
path for
done
you
this
to win out.
they did this the last 3 years, bro. I mean the Bucks I want to say started 4-7, 4-7, 3-6 the last couple of years. And they run it off towards the end and then end up barely winning the division. Last year the Falcons had a 3-game lead. Well, I want to say the Falcons were 6-3.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the Bucks and the Bucks were 3-6 or something like that, or 4-7, and ended up catching them. So you never know, man. You never know, because I think the Panthers are coming along, and they're a solid squad. So we'll see. And the division
For
opponents are
sure.
always tough, like no matter what,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah. You can't take them for granted at all.
Yeah, man.
But awesome. Yeah, that's all I got, man. If there's anyone in the crowd that wants to hop up and comment, we can give another 5-10 minutes, and then if not, we can close it out. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
Yeah, appreciate like Caspi's been on the entire time. Appreciate you, brother. We've started it off with some Caspa talk and got into that, and then I think it's pretty cool how we transition into sports. Have some
For
fun with
sure. I
that,
mean, that's
bro.
been the plan,
Yeah,
right?
that is the
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's all
Awesome. No, I
interlinked.
love
It's
it.
all interlinked, and us. So I get to treat Juancito when we have this conversation. This is Juancito having some fun and talking about the stuff that brings me joy and pain. I'm not gonna lie. It's been
For
pain the
sure.
last couple weeks, but we leave it there. We leave it there. Then there's hope for the next week.
Absolutely. I just had this talk with the missus too. I'm not sure if I said it on here or last night, but like this, I might have said it last night too, but I wish I found this mental sovereignty
Yeah, you did.
back in July.
You said
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
You said that last night. You
because
haven't said.
yeah, last night because the weather would be warmer, but like these weekends where we're sitting where we're sitting in front of the TV to watch our games, and she's a Cowboys fan, so we're not always on at the same time. So like we might spend 6 hours just in the living room alternating who's going to be there watching the game. But then we definitely break away and go do some other things. Well, if we had, and we don't feel tied, like it's definitely like a release now to like, okay, we're getting shit done.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that for you.
and it's not, yeah, it's not rat race anymore. So it's so cool, man. And that comes with mental
It
sovereignty
does.
and being able to experience sports and not feel tied to it is fucking fantastic, man.
Right?
It doesn't ruin my mood after more. Look, and I used to have to sit down ready to go 1 o'clock. No, I took my kids shopping this weekend because my wife didn't have a chance to get her day going yet. So I was like, you know what? I'll take him shopping. Just do me a favor. When you're done what you got doing to set up, put the pregame on for me. We walked in the door, kickoff already happened. Didn't bother me because it was ready. We had to get that done for the family. I come home, kickoff happened. It might have been like 2, 3 plays in. And I was like, okay, cool. Giants take it down and score a touchdown. Old me would have been like, well, if I was just here from the beginning, they wouldn't have scored a touchdown on the first drive. Right?
Damn,
It's
bro.
not true.
I'm
It's just
laughing
not
because
true, man.
I'm laughing at myself. I was the same fucking way for such a long time. Oh my God.
Bro, I used to make sure that because I rock a baldy like you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I've been doing it for 25 years. I used to make sure that I shaved my head, wore the same pair of drawers, the same pants, shoes, socks. I have NFL issue socks that I bought on eBay. I used to wear them every single Sunday. I used to put on a uniform to watch these
Damn.
guys. And I realized like none of that fucking matters. So I'm not gonna make sure that I shave my head and put on the same pair of drawers. No, like I might wear some Packer shit. I got a ton of it. But if I don't put something on, it's not going to change the outcome. So I don't need to be there for kickoff.
Nah, man. It's
So dumb.
entertainment and whatever, you know. Like
Yeah.
I can relate to a lot of that. I can relate to a lot of it. Just being in that energy and you know, we eventually you grow out of it a little bit and just I think it's easier to appreciate from this angle. It's like being in the present and watching these games, getting intense with it. You and I went back and forth. There were a couple moments you text me, and I'm like, "What?" I'm yelling here. I'm like, I know the neighbor heard me a couple times, be like, "Fucking Baker, just throw it." Like what I'm saying matters to him. I have to get
Right.
it out because that's Juancito yelling at the fucking players. And I'm in my
For
house.
real.
I don't do that when I go to the games. I'm very respectful. I'm like, these people can hear me. They're out here doing what they do. Like share a funny. I remember I was in Houston, and Rashard White had fumbled the ball, and and if there was silence on the Buccaneers end of the on our side of the field, and you can hear this fan be like, "Rashard, that's why I don't start you in fantasy. You suck. Why do they even play you?" And as Rashard White is walking towards the bench, he looks up, and the dude is standing, and everybody turns around and we point. We're like, he's right there. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. People are crazy at those games, man.
Yeah.
So it's
Nah,
like, yeah, man, they're people too, man. And they're trying their best. But at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a game. It's not that
for sure.
serious. But hey, in the moment, we gotta express ourselves and feel what we feel. Then leave it there, bro.
Fuck yeah.
No reason to take
Leave
it
it
into
there.
anything else. That's it.
Yep. No, stay in the present. And when the game's over, it's no longer present. That's for
Exactly,
sure.
exactly. It's over.
Yeah.
There's always next
Hell yeah.
week. There's always next week, and then if we don't win the Super Bowl, there's always next year. Always.
Always
Yeah.
next year. Yep. Always. Yep. It's not going anywhere. So,
Yeah, man.
but I think if there's been no requests, then maybe it's time for us to go somewhere.
Yes, sir.
You know, and we'll step out of the present for now. And if you got anything left for the people, let them know.
We're good, brother. You know, check us out always on Wednesdays. Blockchain Banter. Host that with Kara. So we'll be on there tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific.
Hell
So
yeah.
come check us out.
This week's going to be a must listen. I mean, I don't know because I didn't talk to anyone, but I would imagine with all the drama that's happened the last week, it should be a must listen. We specifically we didn't talk to each other, but again, our present moment didn't tell us to talk about any of
It
that
did it.
today.
Yeah, we'll leave it for tomorrow.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
tomorrow should be a great discussion.
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure some things will come up, and we'll organically speak about what we need to speak about. So clear the air. I had an opportunity yesterday to get on the blockchain banter and defend my people, Kara specifically. Um, so I think there were lessons learned both sides, and we'll get into it
Sure.
tomorrow. But definitely come check out the conversation. All this is being recorded, right? And it's about putting
Yep.
all this energy on